Hi, I'm Rachel Senes, and welcome to Inside Santa Barbara, the 30-minute news magazine that takes you inside the city, from issues to projects and local events. Well, today we are coming to you from East Beach, where it is absolutely gorgeous. Nearly 1,500 kids are matching swimming, paddling, and running skills in the Regional Junior Lifeguard Championships. Well, we'll tell you more about the championships in a few minutes, but first, we want to take you to the west side, where several city departments recently teamed up for the first of a series of monthly cleanup projects that they hope will put public safety on the right track. The rails that run through the heart of Santa Barbara are a vital artery for goods and travelers alike. On average, more than a dozen trains a day carry everything from lumber to tourists. The tracks also provide a tempting, unimpeded route for pedestrians looking for a shortcut across town. Unfortunately, the combination of trains and people is a dangerous one that all too often turns deadly. The trains are equipped with horns and whistles, but often people don't hear them or simply ignore them. Whatever the reason, the police department stresses there's never a safe time to walk on or near the tracks.
What people do rather than walk over to San Pasqual Street is they take a shortcut through this property here on Cannon Perdido, jump the fence or walk around by Wentworth, come down the tracks, take a shortcut, jump the fence here to Carrillo Street, and saves them about a block and a half of walking.
Many pedestrians simply walk across the tracks, others along it, but an amazing number walk on the tracks, some even stopping along the way.
So what you have here are some people walking across the tracks, stop and sit on the rails right at a bend in the roadway or in the track, close to the freeway, where the noise level is high and the visibility is very, very poor.
It's more than just poor visibility where the tracks bend. It's also hard to hear a train because these railroad tracks run closely parallel to the 101 freeway. With all the noise of semi-trucks, motorcycles, and cars, it's often difficult to hear the warning sounds of an oncoming train. Wind is also an issue. It can knock back a train's warning sounds, making it riskier for pedestrians. And some of those pedestrians are also homeless. Their encampments are common here. They are set up within the thick vegetation about 15 feet from trains traveling up to 60 miles per hour.
There's another campsite right here.
This area has proven to be unsafe for the homeless who sleep there, and the danger is not just from the trains.
I've had two clients in the last 3 or 4 years that they were asleep and they woke up with a car on top of them because there had been a rollover or the car veered off, like you said, from the freeway and landed really close somewhere on top of them.
I know of one call I was on where the person that was living there just said, I couldn't believe it. It went by me, I felt the wind, and I said, man, you are the luckiest person in the world today because the possibility of that exists.
John Allman says a fire safety issue also exists. Last summer, a campfire ignited thick vegetation near the railroad tracks at Los Patos. There's also a lot of debris, things like needles, glass, and other sharp objects. Since there's heavy foot traffic near railroad tracks, public safety has become a major issue. That's why several city departments have joined together to clean it up. In mid-July, a crew made up of employees from Union Pacific, Public Works, Parks and Recreation, and the police department cleared debris from 2 blocks of the railroad corridor between Anapamu and Carrillo Streets. During the cleanup, crews removed 200 cubic yards of green waste and 12 yards of transient debris. They also collected nearly 200 needle syringes. But the project is more than just about public safety and removing trash from the area. It brings much-needed attention to the issue of homelessness. According to a report done by the county, there are currently 6,150 homeless living in Santa Barbara County. That's up more than 2,200 since 1983. Although prior to the project, the police department warned people about removing their belongings and leaving the area, they also refer them to programs that may help them get off the streets, like Casa Esperanza, which provides food, shelter, and medical attention. But Ken Williams says that although a humanitarian effort exists on behalf of law enforcement, a cleanup project like this one is not the solution to homelessness. Williams believes that forcing the homeless out of their encampments can add to the problem.
There's not a homeless group, and there's different subgroups. Now you take the mentally ill, which is approximately 30 to 40% of the homeless. I mean, that just adds another layer of paranoia that they are actually being hunted, besides what their voices are telling them.
Some believe the community is on its way to a solution. It comes in the form of a Santa Barbara county-wide plan called the 10-Year Plan to End Chronic Homelessness. Although there are skeptics of the plan, Mayor Marty Bloom believes it has legs.
They found, and rightly so, that it costs a lot more to keep a homeless person homeless than it does to put them in an apartment or into housing.
Advocates of the 10-year plan believe in creating successful programs and supportive and affordable housing. An example of supportive housing today is the El Carrillo project, the new permanently affordable rental housing for Santa Barbara's homeless and near homeless. The number of single-room occupancy or residential hotel beds lost since 1987 in the city of Santa Barbara alone is 482. The creation of El Carrillo will increase the total number of permanent affordable housing units for the homeless in Santa Barbara County from 375 to 436. That's a 16% increase. Kimberly Salisbury is applying for a studio at El Carrillo with the help of social workers at Casa Esperanza. Years ago, Kimberly lost everything.
My husband left me, and he took everything. You know, he took all the money, everything. And I went to a psychiatric hospital, and they brought me up here because there was no housing in Ventura County. So they brought me up here, and that's how I found Casa Esperanza.
Kimberly says she is motivated to get her life back by remembering that life can change so quickly.
Your life can change on a dime. One day I was happy-go-lucky housewife, and the next day my whole life was destroyed.
She hopes that El Carrillo will help pave the way to a better life.
I don't want to be in a shelter anymore. I want my own place again. I've been on my own since I've been 15 years old, pretty much. And I want to be on my own again.
Future residents of El Carrillo are scheduled to move into the studios in September. Back at the railroad tracks, city crews will continue their cleanup efforts every month. Meanwhile, groups county-wide continue to implement the 10-year plan in hopes of getting on the right track to end chronic homelessness. During the cleanup project, Union Pacific officials put in a slow order which slows down trains in that area to 10 miles per hour while city crews work near the tracks. Well, while the junior lifeguards tear it up here at East Beach, it gives me an opportunity to hit you with some facts that may surprise you. Did you know that over 22,000 tons of food scraps are sent to the Tejigas landfill every year? Well, that breaks down to almost 500 pounds for every resident of the city of Santa Barbara. Well, to lead by example, the city's Environmental Services Division has started an innovative pilot program to help minimize that huge impact.
There's been an organism quietly at work in the leaves under our feet. Most of the time we walk over them without even knowing they're down there. Now, this lower life form is serving a higher purpose. They're breaking down food scraps from Santa Barbara City employees.
We get a lot of banana peels. You know, vegetables are what you want the most, vegetables and fruit peels and things like that. The coffee grinds are the best, though. That's what the worms really like. They like coffee just as much as the rest of us.
Redworms are just about the same worms that you'd use for fishing. They're not earthworms. They don't live deep in the ground. They live in leaf litter. And so actually, all the worms that we have in the city started with our first worm box. And they keep breeding because they're just going nuts, eating all this food scrap that we have, and it allows more and more people to compost.
Food scraps make up 20% of the material sent to the landfill, and over time that organic waste breaks down to produce methane, a potent greenhouse gas. Seeking to lead by example, the city has encouraged its employees to divert their food waste and instead compost it in a worm bin. It's a method that the city plans to expand into a larger-scale food scrap recovery program. So far, 8 city departments have a team of dedicated employees who have come to love feeding their new friends.
People should be encouraged to do it, that it's kind of fun.
I'm on the City Hall worm bin team, and today is my day to feed the worms. This compost pail has been gathering our food scraps in the kitchen all day. So all you do is open the worm bin, and you dig a hole, put the food scraps in, and then cover it up. I'd say those worms look pretty happy. It's a simple action that can have major benefits for both your yard and the environment.
The beauty of the worm bin is the worms actually consume everything. It puts a bacteria in the soil that creates a symbiosis between the plants and the soil, that the plants actually are healthier. Instead of throwing it in the trash to go to the landfill for flies or whatever, I'm feeding my soil with it and ultimately feeding my plants.
There's no reason to put our organic waste in the landfill. I mean, it's really a resource. It's free fertilizer, and it works better than Miracle-Gro or any of the synthetic stuff, in my opinion. I think that that's the way it should be. I think that we should try to be more cyclical with the way that we live our lives like nature does. And so it's really trying to bring the cycle back.
It kind of gives people something to understand what we're doing here. And our environmental services garden, using the compost that we've generated, we're growing fruit and veggies from our compost. So we're completing the loop.
Another way the city is reducing its impact on the environment is through zero-waste events.
Last year at the city employee picnic, we had more than 500 people eat, enjoy lunch, and we didn't make any waste. Everything that we had was recycled or composted. And again, it makes people think. It's not just about having the blue can and recycling what's recyclable. It's about thinking about how we can cut waste out of the equation.
Any city employee can check out a zero-waste kit with supplies, recycling and compost bins, and detailed instructions on how to host an event that doesn't produce any trash.
We have plates that, instead of being made out of paper pulp, are actually made out of waste product from sugarcane. And we have polylactic acid, or PLA, cups, knives, and forks that are a plastic that's actually made out of carbohydrates, or vegetable matter, instead of being made out of hydrocarbons, or petroleum.
Using biodegradable materials allows for the food waste and serverware to be composted. It's one more way the city of Santa Barbara is setting a positive example.
It's easy to think that all these products can just go away once we're done with them. But when we're done with them, they can go back into another life.
It makes me more proud to be a city employee, to know that we really are trying to, be environmental.
So far, the city's internal pilot program has been successful. Both City College and Cottage Hospital are the first community organizations to participate in the program starting this month. Well, speaking of success, recently the Santa Barbara Police Department has had success in tracking down criminals through their participation in a statewide fingerprint database. Brooke Hawkins has more.
California Identification, or CalID, is a statewide automated fingerprint identification program that the police department uses to store, search, and retrieve fingerprint records. The fingerprinting database has been helping the Santa Barbara Police Department solve crimes since 1985.
Yeah, CalID was the link, the lead we needed to put a suspect at a location and connect him to a crime.
Solving a crime is like piecing together a puzzle where most of the pieces are missing. Fingerprints help piece the crime together by providing links between a person and a crime. Because each person's fingerprint is unique, a print left at the crime scene can be great evidence to solve the crime. When latent fingerprints are collected from a crime scene, they are analyzed by crime lab technicians and then sent digitally to the Department of Justice to be identified.
Now I still need to process the image, because this image can't just be sent off to search. It has to be processed, because the computer doesn't do a fingerprint search based on the look of this right here. It actually has to take the points, individual points, and it's those points that are searched in the system.
The prints are analyzed against a database of 6.8 million subjects who have been arrested for crimes in California. The computer then will generate a list of possible matches, but it takes a qualified examiner to make a match. Thanks to the CalID system, the Santa Barbara Police Department's hit rate is approximately 20 to 25%. That means of the unidentified fingerprints that are searched within the database, 1 in 4 or 5 fingerprints are identified. In the past, fingerprints could go unmatched, but thanks to the CalID system, the police department can identify a person within a matter of minutes. Locally, many important cases have been solved due to CalID fingerprint matches.
We learned that property had been sold locally in a pawn shop. We examined that property and traced it to another residential burglary that didn't have any fingerprints, but we connected the suspect through all these different actions. We were able to find and locate the suspect, and we cleared 3 residential burglary cases and recovered property, which was then returned to the owner.
Instead of waiting for detectives to develop a suspect, many cases can be advanced or solved by a match to a subject already in the system. And as technology evolves and more prints are put into the CalID system, the odds for a match increase.
It's the rewarding part of our job is when we get to identify the fingerprints.
The CalID system has made it a lot easier and quicker to identify people compared to the old ink-based system.
When you're using the ink, it takes a while to compare the prints, whereas this way they get booked in, and if they gave their sibling's name, it comes back right away that, oh no, you're this one and you've got a $25,000 warrant out for your arrest.
In addition to the CalID database, the police department also has access to 8 other states' databases and to the FBI's database, which contains over 50 million subjects.
In addition to fingerprints, palm prints are now being added to the CalID database. Well, we've been telling you all about the Junior Lifeguard State Championships taking place right here at East Beach, but it is only one out of many events that make up the annual Semana Nautica Sports Festival. Brooke Hawkins takes an inside look.
Crouch and hold, engage.
This year's Semana Nautica marks the 69th time the city of Santa Barbara has celebrated the summer season with this exciting sports event. Semana Nautica is a month-long festival that surrounds the 4th of July holiday. The event dates back to 1933 when locals challenged the crews of 5 Navy ships that were docked in the harbor to a series of contests and games.
They had so much fun, and it was such a good draw for the city that the next year they renamed it, without the battleships visiting, they renamed it Semana Nautica, and it's been going on pretty much every year since then, except for a couple of years during the war where we stopped.
Semana Nautica, which means Marine Week in Spanish, was chosen to honor the city's Spanish heritage. The festival originally was confined just to marine sports, but it has evolved in recent years.
I guess most people just think Semana Nautica is a water event, but there's a lot of other events going on from golf and whatnot. So I think it's just great to promote sports in town.
From rugby to fishing tournaments, Semana Nautica events vary from year to year. This year, the festival hosted a lot of events for the first time, like the Junior Lifeguard State Championships here at East Beach.
As new events are added, older events are taken out of the festival. 2 contests that were popular in the past but have not been seen for a while are the Semana Nautica Queen Contest and the Battle of the Flowers, which was a colorful boat parade off local beaches. While events may vary, the festival's policy of welcoming participants of all abilities remains constant.
That's really what's nice about Semana Nautica. You have the professional volleyball players, and you have age group swimming, and everything in between. Everybody's welcome to participate, and there's never admission charge for any Semana Nautica event, which is nice also.
Thousands of people of all ages and abilities joined in on the fun at the over 30 events at this year's festival, including a Semana Nautica original, the Crazy Cardboard Kayak Race.
Perfect.
On your mark, get set, go!
Semana Nautica events are sponsored and put on by local teams and organizations like the First Tee and the Grunion Rugby Club. Next year, Semana Nautica will celebrate its 70th year by introducing even more exciting new events and hopes to bring back some old favorites like water polo and tug of war.
For more information about Semana Nautica and how you can get involved next year, visit our website at citytv18.com. Well, ocean water quality is important to everyone, especially to these junior lifeguards here at East Beach as they participate in the competition. Water quality is also important to the city, which is why the Creeks Division hosts regular creek cleanups like this one at Sycamore Creek.
It's early on a Saturday morning, and while their neighbors are at home sleeping, a group of dedicated volunteers are hard at work making a difference at Sycamore Creek. Not only are these volunteers helping to clean up, they're helping to make people aware of the direct connection between creeks and the ocean.
Whatever ends up in our creeks is eventually going to end up in the ocean, and there's a lot of trash, and even with the trash there's probably a lot of other stuff that you can't see, and we think it's really important for people to sort of understand that they need to take accountability for their trash and for the things that they do that affect the creeks.
During their 2-hour cleanup at Sycamore Creek, volunteers collected 54 pounds of trash.
Bottles, chip wrappers, pieces of metal, tops of sodas, and probably the thing I found the most, although it's small, is cigarette butts.
Cleanups like this one are also important because they help keep the creek clean for the animals who call it home.
Well, I've seen lots of tadpoles and lots of little frogs. There were some birds of prey up in this tree, but I'm not sure what they were. So there's definitely still wildlife here. If we can keep it clean, I'm sure that they will stay.
The goal of the summer cleanups is to make the community aware of how beautiful a creek can be when it is respected.
This creek is flowing through this neighborhood, and so it could either be a source of, trash and sort of take away from the neighborhood, or we're hoping that if we clean it out, people sort of respect the creek flowing through the neighborhood and sort of become stewards of creeks.
This event is a third of 4 planned cleanups that have taken place throughout the summer. At the first 2 events, over 70 volunteers at East Beach and Arroyo Burro Beach helped clear out 375 pounds of trash. The cleanups are part of a joint effort between the City of Santa Barbara Creeks Division and the Community Environmental Council.
To find out how you can get involved in creek cleanups, go to sbcreeks.com. Well, teams from all over California traveled here to East Beach for the Junior Lifeguard Championships, while a recent weekend festival gave thousands of people a taste of culture from even farther away. Christy Julin takes us there.
You hear the delightful sounds of French music. The smell of freshly baked croissants is in the air. You sip champagne while you watch the passerbys. And for a brief moment, you're whisked away 8,000 miles to Paris, the City of Lights. Held over Bastille Day weekend, the French Festival at Oak Park is the largest French celebration on the West Coast. Steve Hogerman has directed the festival for 19 years.
I love watching the excitement. I love watching all the happy people. I'm the MC of the main Moulin Rouge stage, and that's a great joy to me. I get to tell the same jokes every year, and people actually laugh.
Doing the Santa Barbara version of Le Con-Con.
With Santa Barbara's multitude of cultural festivals, including Fiesta, there's no better place to host the French festival than the American Riviera.
We're a very Mediterranean sort of a town, and it's good to have that cross-cultural excitement. It's what Santa Barbara's all about.
If you're one of the 20,000 people who visit the festival, you'll find that there's no shortage of things to do. With many entertainment acts, shops, and food vendors, there's truly something for everyone.
Music, people, clothing, entertainment, food.
I really like the music.
I like all the people having fun. I'm interested in French culture, and so I like getting a little taste of it here.
I think it's the variety. I mean, people are looking for their special food or their special lavender or something, but then they're surprised as well, I think, by entertainment like this.
There's France, which is the nation of France, but then there's French in a broader sense, which is the language. And I like that those elements of French-speaking culture are represented at the French Festival in its most all-encompassing sense.
If you're like me, you love food. And if you love food, the French Festival is a great place to come. Here you can sample freshly baked baguettes, quiche, French wine, and of course, crepes. My favorite is strawberries and chocolate. It'll have you saying bon appetit.
Like a friend of mine said, you know, I may not know how to speak French, but I sure know how to eat French. And you could go all day, both days, and it's an eat-a-thon.
For myself, I like Nutella with banana and whipped cream. That's my favorite. I have one a day.
The French are known for their cuisine, and all of the vendors here have mastered the art of making our mouths water. Chef Terry with Acadie Crepes has been coming to the French Festival for 8 years. He showed us how to make his famous family recipe.
You have mozzarella cheese, fresh basil and fresh tomatoes, and you steam everything inside. It's very popular. And also the banana and strawberries, fresh strawberry we cut this morning. And we put chocolate and whipped cream on top.
I do serve pâté, sandwich, quiche Lorraine, quiche vegetable. What is beautiful and people love it. We cooked this morning and it's very fresh. And bread and baguette, of course.
Josette LeBlond is the proud owner of Normandy Bakery, and she has made it her mission to share her French delicacies.
I have been to the French Festival for 16 years. And I'm doing that only to have fun and bring all the food I do, Napoleon, eclair, pâté, and fresh food.
As a knowledgeable butcher, Josette makes 1 ton of pâté a day, and she made me one of her famous sandwiches. On the other side of the park, Chef Jean-Paul from Le Bon Café also makes sandwiches, but with local produce and a fusion twist.
I was born in France, and my mother's Vietnamese. I grew up in France going to elementary school, junior high. Here today we're doing one of our biggest seller sandwiches, our pulled lamb, and our Vietnamese barbecue pork, which is with a little bit of Chinese influence in there from char siu sauce.
After a successful first time at the festival, Jean-Paul is sure to gather a following at his new downtown restaurant.
Les bon means very good, so we try to have people when they eat go, you know, this is really good.
And if you get a craving for crepes after the French Festival, anyone is welcome to attend a free French conversation group that meets every Wednesday at Pacific Crepes.
The main purpose there is for us Americans to keep practicing our French so it doesn't get too rusty, and for French people to show up to get to talk to the natives in their native tongue.
If Paris isn't on your vacation list, there's always next year's French Festival, where our friendly food vendors will be waiting with a crepe and a smile.
I think it's the best of the America. I really do think.
It's très bon. Oh, les bon.
It's nice, you know. It's like vacation for us.
For more information about the French Festival or any of our segments, log on to our website at citytv18.com. Well, that does it for this month's episode of Inside Santa Barbara. If you have any questions or comments, give us a call at City Hall at 564-5311. I'm your host, Rachel Senes. Thank you so much for joining us here at East Beach. And remember to get involved inside Santa Barbara.